So for any of you who've seen the recording, just hit continue if you're okay with the recording. Welcome, everybody. I am Kelly Pratt, and I'm the founder and co-creator of the Athena Village. And we are today really excited to be hosting and featuring Miss Chris Zydel to be reading from her new book. Athena Village is an online space where we basically, the whole point of Athena Village is to uplift and amplify women's voices. It's a space where we are making a space for women to be safe, seen, supported, and celebrated. It's a place to tell authentic stories, to have ask thoughtful questions, and then have these soulful conversations that most women are really craving. And one of the things that we truly love doing is sharing audiences, which is what we're doing today with Chris. Women are at our hearts generous creatures, and the people that follow me as a coach and as I run groups in my other business, they love the kind of stuff that Chris is doing, and the people that I work with love what Joy does, and we just find that that's the kind of quote marketing that we really love, is sharing audiences. So that's what we're doing here today. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But with that, I would love to introduce my partner and co-creator of Athena Village, Joy Kange, who has known Chris for quite some time and is an artist at heart. So Joy, let me throw this to you and have you introduce our wonderful guest today.
And she's more than an artist at heart. She's an actual artist. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. Good clarification.
Oh my gosh. That's triggering. Hi, everyone. I'm Joy. I guess I would say co-conspirator with Kelly in making this Athena Village kind of rock and roll. And Chris, I've known for quite some time. I've been a student. I took her expressive arts facilitator training. She's been my mentor, and I would dare say friend now. And she's funny, irreverent, creative, permission slip giving, and just this kind of I guess you say wild heart queen.
Wild heart queen, yes.
Yes. But she's just really a wonderful permission giving fairy, really. She just says you can do what you want. And I really have been, I've been following her for so long and kind of been a fangirl for so long. It's been so nice to see it all kind of, accumulate to her book. And that's been a long time coming. And so I'm very proud of you. And anything that we can do as Athena Village to amplify the people in our community and to help my friends, that's what we want to do. So I don't know, I was going to say some other like eloquent things, but it's all escaping me now.
And
I'm just happy to have you here, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I would say that Chris, I don't know, I just love you so much, and I want you to be so successful with this book, because it's such a balm for people who have been kind of, I think you say this in the book, like wounded as a child, as as our young artists. I will tell one little story, that when I was little, I was in this little art, for some reason I got chosen to be in this little art class, and they pulled me away, and I got to go. I grew up in San Diego, and I got to go, and they said, draw a tree. And then the teacher came up and held mine up and said, we don't draw lollipop trees in this class. Oh, no. And I was like so young. And I just, that was such a wound. And it took, me taking Chris's classes and kind of healing that and saying, I don't want to say anything, any bad words, but like, F that.
You can say bad words in my
Oh, that's right. This is the irreverent piece of it, but
that's right.
That I'm going to make lollipop trees for the rest of my life. So I just want to say, thank you to Kelly for creating Athena Village, and thank you to Chris, and thank you all for coming. And I'm hoping this will be a fun little retreat for us as we kind of go back out in the world.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And thank you both. Thank you, Kelly, so much for creating this. I mean, creating Athena Village. I mean, it's just such a wonderful vision, you know, as a way to bring women together. I love your mission statement. You know, your mission statement is just really close to my heart. And Joy, thank you, darling. I mean, Joy and I have, like Joy said, we've known each other forever, and you know, have such a deep connection on so many levels. And I really felt very touched by your description of me and our relationship. That was really beautiful. So thank you. And yeah, it's just really wonderful to have this opportunity. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
You know, to yeah. I mean, I have the book. So this book is like a brand new thing. It just came out in April. Yay! So it's my very first book, although I plan on more. So this is going to be the first of who knows how many. And it's just really wonderful to have these opportunities to spread the word, you know, to spread the word about, you know, creating in this way, and about, you know, intuitive painting and intuitive art. And it's really intuitive living, you know, it's really that. So, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to do like a little mini workshop with all of you. And so what that's going to look like is I'm going to start with a little meditation, and then we will, I'll talk a little bit about, you know, what this intuitive painting process is. I'll read a story from the book. I'll give you a couple prompts, and we'll do some art for a little while. And then it'll be open for questions. So, you know, it's like about 90 minutes or so, I think, that we have, you know, to be here today. And so, yeah, that's kind of the flow. That's what we'll be doing. So, you know, why don't we just start with just a little meditation process? So if you could make sure that you're muted, that would help. And just take a moment. We're just going to take a moment just to get here. So I just want you to take a moment, close your eyes, and let your attention kind of drop down into your body. Take a breath and let it go on the exhale. And just allow yourself to settle into wherever you are. Relax your shoulders. Let your body just get heavy and drop down into wherever you're sitting. Feel your feet on the floor. And just allow yourself to connect with whatever is true for you in this moment. And just starting with your sensations, just kind of feeling into your body, feel how your body's positioned, feel any sensations in your body, feeling the temperature in the room around you. And then just also connecting up with what you're feeling on the emotional level. And just taking a moment just to simply say hello to yourself. To connect with wherever you are in your body, in your heart, in your feelings, in your emotions. Because I believe that for us to be authentically creative, we need to really connect with the truth of who we are and where we are in any given moment. So just making space for you, making space to give yourself your own sacred attention just for these few moments. Well, actually, hopefully longer than that. But right now, in these few moments that we have here sitting with our eyes closed, just resting in knowing that it's okay for you to give attention to you. So take another breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes and let's come back out into our little circle. So the other thing that I want to say too is that we're creating a little community today, a little circle of connection with each other, you know, and just really want to acknowledge that we've all gathered here in person, and then there's all the people that will be coming later and watching the video and saying hello to all of you too. But just so happy to have you all here with me and with us to, you know, go on this little journey. We're going to go on a little journey today. So the first thing I just want to say for, you know, some of you have, I know some of you, you've either taken classes with me or you've done painting with fire or you've been in my orbit, and some of you are brand new to me. And so just wanted to say welcome to everybody. Basically, I teach something called intuitive painting. It has roots in the expressive arts. And it's really using art and creativity as a way to, it's that belief that healing and self-expression is by itself healing. That's a very powerful healing modality, to just allow yourself to express yourself freely. I mean, one of the things that Joy was saying when she was introducing me is that, you know, I'm a big permission giver. And that's a big part of this process. You know, it's like that you have permission, you have total permission to be totally yourself and to express yourself with all of who you are without censoring, without judgment, without holding anything back. And my belief is that in doing that, that really allows, you know, people to heal and to reclaim themselves, you know, to be completely whole in who they are. And also to have more fun and more joy and more energy in your life, you know. And I think that's a really big thing, particularly for women. You know, because as women, we get a lot of messages about who we're supposed to be and who we're not supposed to be. And certain things are taboo and certain things we're not allowed to have, like we're not allowed to have our power or our anger or, or be messy or wild or, you know, there's all kinds of things that we're, you know, that we get, we're asked to be small. You know, we're asked to really contain ourselves, or not asked to, we're demanded to, you know, be that way. So this process is breaking free of that. You know, the invitation is to not be small. It's to be big, to take up space, to express yourself, you know, to be fully yourself, you know, and in community, because I think that doing that kind of expression in community is incredibly healing, because then you feel like you're with other people who are, you know, have that same value, and being seen and held in that way is incredibly powerfully healing. So we're going to be doing a little bit of that today. You're going to get a taste of that today. So, you know, I've been in this business for a long time. I've been in the healing biz for over 40 years. I've been teaching and doing the intuitive painting process for, I started in '94. So I don't know how many years that is, but it's a long time. And I've, you know, run classes and workshops and retreats and training programs, you know, in person and online. And now I have a book. So this book is like a new way for me to get the word out about this work and this process. So partly what we're here to do today, you know, and what Joy invited me to do, and Kelly, is to celebrate that. You know, it's a big deal for me to kind of step out and be as in my role as a writer. I mean, I write all the time. I have a blog and all that kind of stuff, but having a book is a really big deal. So yeah, so I'm here to celebrate that, to celebrate the birth of my book baby, and to share that with you. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I'm going to read you, it's story time now. So so my book, the way that my book is designed is it's called Conversations with a Brush, Wisdom Tales from the Intuitive Painting Heart. And it's 39 stories that are conversations that I have had with people in my studio around the intuitive painting process. And so, you know, I'll be reading you one of those stories or one of those conversations. And then each of the each of those stories, talks about a certain kind of concept or aspect of the intuitive painting process. So then I'll read you a little commentary about that. And then there's some journal questions at the end. So I'm going to read you then the journal questions, and that's when I'm going to have you then get involved, in the process. So the first part, you're just going to sit back and listen, because again, it's story time. And then we'll get you engaged. Okay. So this story is called Reluctant Pink Heart Love. So it's a conversation, like I said, between me and one of my students. So how's your painting going? Student, I think my intuition hates me. Me, why would you say that? Student, well, all it wants me to do is paint these stupid hearts. Me, a student, and not only that, it wants me to paint pink hearts. I hate pink. Pink is not my color at all. I would never choose pink if it was left up to me. Me, I see. You obviously have quite a strong reaction to those pink hearts. Student, you better believe it. I'm simply not a pink heart type of person. I'm strong and tough. I don't let anybody push me around. Me, so you think that painting those hearts means something about you? Student, well, doesn't it? Me, maybe yes and maybe no. Even if they do mean something, it sounds like you're not making a lot of space to really find out what that might be. Student, well, what else could they mean? Me, I don't know, but maybe a better question to ask is, how did you feel as you painted them? Student, feel? You want me to talk about feeling now? Me, yes, I do. Student, well, I actually felt kind of quiet and happy and soft. I don't want to feel soft. How do you feel about the softness? I kind of enjoyed it, but I don't want to enjoy it. I don't want to be the person who paints pink hearts and feels soft and likes it. Me, I think it might be a little late for that. So that's the story. So then this is the commentary on the story. We are filled with so many stories about who we think we are or who we think we're supposed to be. Those stories may have been true and useful at one time, but at a certain point, they become terribly limiting. We need to be reminded on a regular basis that life is a constant process of growth and change, and to make sure to allow ourselves to embrace that ongoing transformational process. That's why our intuitive creative self is always pushing us out of those old stories and into newer and more updated versions of ourselves. However, it's pretty much guaranteed that the new territory is going to feel kind of squirmy and uncomfortable. The stories we are identified with are usually dust-covered and ancient and based on some outmoded secondhand version of who we are now. These stories are like last decade's fashions and don't allow us to claim the truth that we are often so much more than what we believe about ourselves. When you find yourself attracted to or excited by something outside of what you would consider your normal way of being, it's a sign that some other part of you is finally waking up and wants to join the party. So open the door, welcome it in. If you're painting it, it's already a done deal. You're just the last person to know, and there's no going back now. So that's the pink heart love. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do now, so I asked you to bring some kind of like art, implements or writing implements. There's a couple of questions here at the end of the chapter. So I'm going to read the question, or there's 3 of them, and I'm going to read the questions, and then we're going to do some art after that. Okay. So the first question is, what are some things you could never imagine allowing yourself to paint because they don't fit with your current self-image and make you uncomfortable? So we're going to dive right into the deep end of the pool. So I want you to just kind of take a minute or 2, and just let that question kind of sit with you and just see what comes up. I'll read it again. Just, what are some things you could never imagine allowing yourself to paint because they don't fit in with your current self-image and make you feel uncomfortable? So and it could be, sometimes it's images, sometimes it's colors. People will sometimes avoid colors like, oh, I never paint black, or I never paint, fluorescent green. Sometimes it can be like a thing like glitter. Sometimes people are like, oh my God, glitter is just so kitschy and trite. I would never use glitter. Sometimes it can be kind of maybe more violent images, or, angry images. Sometimes it can be the vulnerable thing, like I've talked about in the story. But just as you ask yourself that question, just kind of see what comes up and take a minute just to write down, what shows up for you as I ask that question. Thanks, Kelly. So Kelly wrote the question down in the chat in case you needed to see it again. I'm glad to see that you're all really taking this seriously. That's great. So let's just take another minute, to kind of finish up with that exploration. Okay, So what I'd like to do now, before we start with the art making, is to go around the circle. I mean, everybody doesn't have to share, but if anybody, we can just kind of do a popcorn thing. If anybody would be willing to share one or two things off of your list, like anything that came up for you. And Kelly had put in the chat that if you want to, if you're ready to speak, to just kind of wave your hand and then I'll call on you. Yeah. So is anybody willing to share about, I mean, you don't have to tell like the worst ones, like maybe just one or two things. I can't raise
my hand, but I'm willing.
Oh, go for it, Patricia. Great. That's okay. That's perfect. Go for it.
Very interesting. Hitting and tears, violence, pain. I never thought I would even think about those things ever again. I paint a lot of flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, the one I want to explore today. So.
Great. Beautiful, Patricia. Thank you. And thank you for being the first person to speak. That's always the hard thing, is breaking the ice. Yes, Lizzie.
That's really funny because I wrote down flowers. I can't paint flowers. Like I did. Like, oh God, flowers. I could never do that.
But that's great. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to hear from people, because this is the thing. It's like there isn't any one thing that it's going to be the same for everybody. Everybody has some place of limitation that they feel in themselves. So thank you, Lizzie. Thanks for that. So who else is willing to share something that came up for them? Yeah, Flo?
Cute animals, stylized people faces, glittery things, teen dolls, sketchy, uncertain lines, anime cartoons, abstract, and landscape.
Great. Fabulous. That's fabulous. But that's great. I mean, again, these are all places in yourself that you don't let yourself go because you think, because we have different ideas. We either think we can't do it, or we're not supposed to do it, or it doesn't fit with who we think we are, or, any of that. So thanks, Flo. Thanks for sharing that. So who else is willing to share? Did somebody else raise their hand? Joy? Well, I'm going to call on you because you're the co-moderator.
I'll call on Kelly.
Oh, okay, you call on Kelly. Go for it, Kelly.
I couldn't, the first thing I wrote down was angry faces.
Yes.
And then any angry images. And then anger. And then violence. And then hate. And then cruelty. So apparently there's a theme.
Yes. Sounds like you got a theme going on, girl. Yes.
I couldn't think of anything else. I kept trying to come up with anything, but.
No, and again, one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, or is just to see, as I asked the question, and you could ask yourself this question tomorrow, and it could be a whole different thing that comes up. But today, whatever's coming up is coming up, and so we're trusting that the intuition is giving you the thing that is a stretch for you. That there's something here that your intuition is calling you to explore. So for you today, Kelly, it's, these around these themes of anger, and hatred and that kind of thing. And it's wonderful, because one of the things that I really encourage people to do in this process is to challenge themselves around taboos. What are the things that oh my God, I could never paint anger or violence or cruelty because that would mean something horrible about me, And the truth of it is that anything is healing here. Anytime you express yourself authentically, it's always a healing process, even those things that are scary and taboo. So Janet, were you raising your hand, or were you, yeah, go for it. You need to unmute yourself, sweetie. You know how to do that?
No.
Oh, there you go. Go, girl. Yes, ma'am. You did it.
Volcanoes, lava, wounded animals,
Yeah.
ugly insects or bats,
Yes.
leather straps used to spank,
Yeah.
muddy roads, messy
Mhm.
rooms,
Mhm.
a wrecked car,
Mhm.
a swastika,
Mhm.
a bolted gate,
Mm.
and molded cheese.
Great. That's fabulous, Janet. But this is great. I mean, you asked the question and your intuition and your imagination was very generous with you. Gave
It's
you a
kind of
lot
ugly
of things.
though.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is another thing for women that I wrote an article a while back called Women Painting and Power, and I talked about that there's 4 things that you never want to say to a woman. You don't want to say that she's ugly, fat, bitchy, or selfish, And so there's this whole thing about ugly and making a mess, that especially as women, that's a taboo. Like, it's not okay to paint ugly. It's not okay to, Kelly covered the bitch part, now your mom is covering the, the ugly, messy part. And so, but there's that, it's a way that we constrain ourselves. And so there can be so much freedom in allowing ourselves to go towards those things. So that was great, Janet. Thank you for that. That was a beautiful, beautiful list. So anybody else willing to, yeah, Deb?
Well, I've painted with you long enough. I don't think there's anything I don't paint, but
I think that's probably true.
but the one thing that came up, even though I think I have it, was penises.
Yes.
And instead of writing about it, I just drew, and it was the most healing thing in the middle. I played with it during that whole time, and it was the most healing thing in the world to just draw it and fiddle with it, and there we go.
Oh my God, that's so great. That's great, but that's oh my God, so instant. I mean, here we have an instant healing right here. Thank you, Deb. That was beautiful. But yeah, but sex, that's another taboo. Sexuality. It's like it's not okay to paint sexual imagery. Penises, vaginas, people having sex, whatever. So yeah. Thank you for bringing sex in. So we've got anger, we've got ugly, we've got sex, we've got flowers, we've got all kinds of things so far. So anybody else willing to share what came up for you?
I'll contribute along the same lines. I had rainbows, unicorns, and penises. So there was
So there you go. Right, exactly. Right, rainbows, unicorns, and penises. I mean, but that's the thing. You never know what the edge is going to be. And, for some people, sometimes it's like, in the story that I read, it was that person was like, oh, I can't own the part of me that is kind of soft and tender and vulnerable. But sometimes the whole rainbow and unicorn thing, it's like the childlike thing. Sometimes people have a hard time with that. Like, oh, that's kitschy, or that's trite, or that, I'm painting like a 3-year-old. First of all, painting like a 3-year-old in this class is highly recommended. Just so you know, that's a really good thing. So yes, thank you for contributing the rainbows and unicorns. Was a much needed. So anybody else willing to?
Hi, it's Cheryl.
Yeah, go for it, Cheryl.
So the first thing I wrote was portraits.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wrote oil paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I conflate the two, that most portraits, unless they're sketched, they're done with oil painting. And I think that where that really came from is I just don't think I'm good at it. I don't think I can work with oil paint. It's so, to me, it's kind of finicky or fussy. And I don't think I have the skill to do, like, people, my daughter paints portraits that look like photographs. And I just, no, I can't do that. And the other was, I probably shouldn't say this here, but Donald Trump.
Oh no, great. Donald Trump is a fabulous to bring in. He's another big taboo. Yes.
And then I don't know if sci-fi is the right word, but all of the really violent, it's usually black and white or sketched, but it's just like killing people and smashing things. And So that's another thing that it wouldn't occur to me to ever do.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. That's great. And, I mean, again, that whole thing that Cheryl was talking about, that idea that there's certain things that you can't do because you're not good enough. I mean, that's another place that people will shut themselves down, And so one of the things that I really try to encourage people in this process is to remind you that you can do anything as long as you're willing to do it badly. So it's that thing about that you can paint anything, you can draw anything, as long as you're willing to let go of being a perfectionist around it, and that's where the juice is. So thank you for bringing perfectionism in, Cheryl. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thanks for the exercise.
Oh, you're welcome. So anybody else have anything you'd be willing to share that have maybe something we haven't heard about yet? Sex, violence. Yes, Pam?
My first thing was snakes. I don't know where
Yes.
that came from.
Great.
And then the next was neon colors.
Yes.
I avoid them like the plague, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I
Great.
have all the others. I have lots of blacks, abstracts, things everybody else, blood, violence, but snakes was my first one.
Great. Yeah. So that's another one of those things. I mean, snakes is actually a popular taboo. That is something that a lot of people avoid. And what was the second thing that you said? You had the snakes
Neon colors.
Oh, neon colors. Yes. So the whole color thing, neon colors is another one that people like, oh God, like people have a lot of opinions about them. Garish. Yes. So that's the other thing that I wanted to work with you around today is all of these places that we won't allow ourselves to go, whether it's neon colors or Donald Trump or, blood or violence or rage or moldy cheese or flowers or unicorns, whatever it is. It's all because the inner critic is is trying to control you and trying to tell you that you shouldn't do that for some reason or another. So one of the things I want to do with you today is to have you challenge that critic by, because what we're going to do next is we're going to actually make some art based on your list. One more person, if there's anybody else that wants to share before we go into the art making. Anybody else just dying to jump in? Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here. So the next part of the process, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to get out your art supplies, whatever it is that you have, so you can paint, you can draw, you can, whatever it is that you have available to you. And I want you to take, maybe one or more things off of that list and start to play with it, start to draw or paint those things and just see what happens. See what happens when you give yourself permission to, go to some of these places. Okay. And then we'll do a little sharing after that. So any questions about that before we get started? Everybody get the drill? Okay. So why don't we just get started, and then we'll have like maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes or so to play. So have fun. Have fun stretching and breaking your own taboos and challenging yourself about what you think you can or can't do. If people could just make sure they're muted too, that would be good. So Pam, I think you're still not muted.
Thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome. That's okay, sweetie, no worries. Great. Thank you. And I also want to encourage you not to think about this too much. So we're going to try to stay out of your head and let your hand lead you, let your intuition lead you. let your emotions lead you, and just start. Don't worry, you can't mess this up. You can't make a mistake. You can't do it wrong. So, and I want you to keep, doing something the whole 15 minutes. Keep moving your brush, or keep moving your pencil, or keep moving your oil pastel, or whatever it is that you're working with. And just keep going, and allowing yourself to play and experiment, make a mess, make it wrong, fuck it up, all of that. Yeah. And see what shows up. Don't forget, this is a time for you to take some risks, maybe do things you think you can't do things you've never done before. And let yourself play. Let yourself also just play. Make a mess. Be a kid. Yeah, Lizzie, it'll be recorded so you can watch it later. But so you were having fun? Can I just see your flowers real quick? Did you do
Oh,
any flowers?
well, I did penis too.
All right, penis flowers. Yes, great. Okay, go girl. Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. Cool. Lucy just had to leave early, so I just wanted to thank you. Thanks for joining us. So,
Thanks. I can stay for a few more minutes.
okay, great. Okay, cool. Oh, so Linda, do you want to just show us real quick since you have to go?
If I can get it in the screen.
Yeah, I can see it. Great.
Can you see?
Yeah, great. So how did that feel to play with that? How was it to?
Well, different, for sure. Yeah. Exploring another brain area.
Yes, it is exploring another brain area. Great, great.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Really wonderful. Look forward to seeing people from here again.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Thanks. Oh, Linda. Oh, and Linda, how did you get to, are you part of Athena Village or did you come through me?
I have joined Athena Village, and Kelly, I met Kelly in another space. And
great.
I was so inspired.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. So we're going to take another minute to finish up whatever you're doing. Okay, my dears. So just want to ask you to finish up, and you can always come back to it later. It looks like you're all pretty engaged, so that's actually really lovely to see. So what I want to ask is for if people would be willing to share about your process, whoever's willing to. And you can show your painting if you're willing to do that, or you can show your artwork if you're willing to do that. And you don't have to do anything at all. You don't have to talk or share. But I just wanted to open the floor up for, you know, just to hear how this went for people also. Anything you want to say about that. So who'd be willing to, yes, Flo, go for it.
There's mine.
Cool.
This is
Great.
a stylized girl. I think it's a real wimpy style of drawing. A lot of uncertainty. I've always admired artists who, when you look at their lines, you knew they had full control.
Right.
And the lines are very deliberate. And I put, she's thinking of a cute dog and she's thinking of giving him a bone. She has little hearts on her shirt and she's wearing pink, which all those things I think are wimpy.
Great. Yay. So you embraced your wimpiness. Oh, Flo, that is so great. Congratulations. And so how was it to do that? How was it to make space for that?
It was kind of fun. It was, you know, I got to scribble a little bit and it was freeing.
Great. So you got to have some freedom. That's fabulous. And that's the whole point. So thank you, Flo. Thank you for sharing. So anybody else willing to share about your process? Yes. Kelly, I was hoping you would. Go for it, girl.
Come on. Okay, so here's what I want to say right now, and I know this is not the thing I should say, is I don't know if I did this right.
Yes, you can't do it wrong, but yes,
okay.
Of course. Yes.
Well, what I'm feeling right now is all stems from something that happened last week, and I'm still reeling from it. I had a hard time getting out of my head. So.
Oh, great. Yeah, great.
So it felt good to I found myself pressing too hard. I don't have any paints or anything here. So I found myself pressing too hard with my pens. And I wrote, we had another meeting that stemmed from the first event that happened last week. And as I was doing this process, I realized that some of the things that were said, like the one man in the situation said, "We need decorum, ladies."
Oh God.
And I realized as I was doing this, what you said at the beginning of the meeting, it's like, yeah, stay in your place. And so the result of this was the two women, me and this other one down here in the corner, she's the past president and I'm the treasurer. We were both basically at the end of the whole thing, basically told to stay in our places, even though, you know, anyway. So this process of drawing it, I'm feeling really pissed off right now.
Yes, great.
And this woman up here,
yes,
she resigned, but I want to go egg her house.
Yes.
I'm like really fucking pissed at her.
Yes, great. Yes.
So this helped.
Great. Yay. Great, Kelly. That's great. So it felt good. It felt good to have.
Yes, absolutely. Even though it looks like a silly cartoon, but it felt good.
It felt good.
And it felt really good to draw that red X over her face.
I love it. I love it. You did it perfectly, darling. You did it perfectly. So Karen just said, I know we can't see Karen's, but she said, well, Karen, do you want to talk about, you said you don't draw body images. And so you drew a woman's body with an egg, which felt safe. So did you want to say anything else about your process, or was that enough? I mean, that's fine too. Karen? Okay. Maybe but that's great. I'm glad that you were able to express yourself in a way that felt safe for you, and it was slightly freeing. Great. So who else is willing to share? Yes, Deb.
Well, I used it a little differently because instead of the writing, I had drawn and painted and whatever the penis. But since I was working in an art journal, I used the permission to do things that I've kind of wanted to do but hadn't been doing in my art journals, using things that are too precious. I had a new tube of gold gouache. I wanted to do some things and smash them. I wanted to use some sprays that I didn't have. I stood up and painted. And actually, I love what wound up. So I just had fun. And this is what I...
Oh, great. Oh my God. Oh, Deb, that's great. Oh, that's so great. So I love that you gave yourself permission, like you said, to use precious materials and, you know, just kind of let yourself be free with that. You didn't let the critic, you know, constrain you around that.
Yeah, I just played and had fun in it. And I put the pages, because in a spiral bound, I smashed the pages together when the paint were wet.
Yeah.
Drew on. It was just fun. And I had a great time.
Good. Yay. Oh, good, sweetie. I'm so glad. Thank you for that. Well, and that whole precious materials. Yeah. Because Kelly said, I save precious materials for so long they become unusable. And I think that's true for a lot of artists. Yeah. So yeah, but that's breaking another taboo. That's breaking through another kind of a constraint, you know, like, oh, I have to be careful around the materials. So that was beautiful. Thank you. So who else is willing to share about your process? Anybody else? Janet, what did you do, darling? You're still muted, sweetie. You're still muted, Janet. Janet, you're still muted. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, this isn't anything new to me because I've kind of known about my bunny rabbit inside. That is a fearful little thing that I don't really like very much. But everybody else likes little bunny rabbits, right? But this little bunny rabbit, I don't. And it's changed over the years into something else. And this kind of helped me. Oh, I don't know if you can even see it, but there's a piece of moldy cheese.
Yes, the moldy cheese.
Sitting on a table that is very properly set with a very proper little bouquet. And the stinkiness is reeking out all over the place.
Yes.
And behind the whole thing is a fear of control. It's an attempt to do a swastika, and I didn't know how to do that, but the whole thing was sort of a clarifying of what I've been trying to do over the many years to get rid of the fear.
Yes, yes.
Stop telling me older people, authority figures, men in
Right.
particular,
Yes,
and
yes,
let me be who I
yes,
am.
yes.
That's kind of what it felt like.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So
Yeah.
you got to have your voice and your
Yeah.
full expression
Yeah.
and a little bit more freedom. Yeah.
Did you see the little mouse?
I saw the mouse at the
Okay,
sticky cheese.
See,
Yes.
the bunny rabbit has changed into a rodent. So I'm more apt to get rid of it. I think.
Right.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's
You're
really great,
welcome.
Janet. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else willing to share your process? Either you can just talk about it, or if you want to show us your art. Oh, Patricia, go for it.
I can't show you, but I was thinking about the little girl inside of me that grew up with so much violence.
Yes.
And, so anyway, I made a face of a little person, like I might have been, with, long braids, and a huge, great big red hand behind it all. And that just, really showed me what the fear was about. So, that's kept me in line for a lot of years.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, good. So it felt good to be able to do that.
It felt good to put that down. Yes.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you, Patricia. Thanks for your courage and going towards that. That's great. So anybody else? Joy? Yes. Oh, there you go. Oh my goodness, the rainbow penis or the unicorn penis rainbow.
I did it.
So you did it, girl. You did it.
Didn't like it.
You were scared to do it? You didn't like it.
I really like my little my blue unicorn.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I
So
can
it was
convince
scary, but then
a mushroom maybe, but then I doubled down on the balls. So
yes, you did. Oh my God. So how did that feel? I mean, I get that it was scary, but how did it, how was it to give yourself that permission?
I guess it's that anticipatory thing it's worse than when you just, it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's not bad.
Yes.
Now the balls were a little bit like chancy, but
right.
But yeah, I'm glad I did it.
You made that really, really lighthearted and fun, even though it seemed like a scary thing for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. That's great, Joy. That's great. Yeah, but great. I'm glad that you moved. You didn't let the fear stop you. Yeah. Great. And glad that you took your chances with the balls. So
I think drawing it in front of an audience also is really brave.
Yeah, it is. That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Flo. Thank you, Joy. So anybody else willing to? Ruth, yes.
Okay, am I on? Yes, I am.
Yes.
So I'm at my dad's house, so I have very limited art supplies, and it's kind of a strange time. So, I wrote down some things that I don't want to draw, and one of them was dead people. And I just didn't, being here with my dad, and he's doing okay. But anyway, so I started, and I thought, I'm not going to follow directions. I'm going to do my own thing. And this is big. This is really big to just on purpose not follow the directions.
Yeah.
I did with the sunshine and some hills, and then I ended up with a coffin. So let's see.
So what you did? What do you mean you didn't follow the directions? It's not, what directions didn't you follow? Are you talking about this?
Yeah. So it came out on its own. I didn't have to force it.
Okay.
They're in the corner here, right there.
Yes. So the came in anyway.
Yeah. So it and it just came. So, and that happens sometimes. So anyway, that's what I did. And
great. And how did that feel to, you know?
I had to stop. You know, if I'd been like in your studio, I probably would have started crying or maybe gone deeper, but I can't do that here. So
no, I get it.
so
Yeah.
maybe I'll pursue that later. So
Yeah.
they brought up a permission.
Yeah,
So,
great, Ruth. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for sharing.
Glad
Thanks.
to be.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you back in the circle with me. Anybody else who would like to share about your process today?
Chris, I'll share. This is Cheryl.
Yes, go for it, Cheryl.
I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. I'll turn my camera on here. Oh, it's not showing the picture. Let's see.
Oh, I just see your photo. I don't see. Oh, there we go. Wait.
All right.
Oh, there we go. Oh, good. Now we can see it. Great. Cool.
So I actually did this from this photograph of my son when he was. He just turned 30, but I think he was 6 in this picture. So,
yeah.
And I didn't put the glasses on because it kind of ran out of time.
Yeah.
But I did it because I'm often doing just free whatever and colors and shapes and I love all that. So I don't have any issue with that. But getting really specific is more difficult. Although I realized how much I really enjoyed it just by looking at the shape of his head. So I just tried to make I didn't try to do the whole. Usually I'm trying to do the whole thing at once. And I just made one little line, then I made another line. So it doesn't really look like him. But it does look like a person, which I was afraid that wasn't even going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I just really want to appreciate you, Cheryl, for taking the risk. You know, so you did the thing that you thought you couldn't do, which was to do a portrait, you know, and to paint, to draw a person's face. So that's huge. Huge congratulations to you.
Thank you. And it was really fun. Normally with the painting and markers, I just love the flow of the brush. Because with the pencil, it was like, okay, draw a circle. Now draw very specific. And I liked it.
Well, that's even better news that you actually had fun doing this, you know? So you had fun taking this risk and fun doing this thing that you've been kind of avoiding, you know? So fabulous. That's fabulous. Congratulations, Cheryl. And thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything? Anybody else is willing to share? So, okay, great. Good. Well, thank you. Thank you. That was really great. And I so appreciate all of you for your willingness to jump in, you know, and to take some risks and to do things you hadn't done before. So we have a few more minutes, you know, with this session. So just wanted to see if anybody had any questions about the intuitive painting process or the reading or anything else that kind of, you know, came up today, or anything else that any thoughts that you have, or, you know, just any way that you want to, anything that you want to say or ask about. So anybody have? Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just in reading your book, I had highlighted, well, I highlighted a ton, but
thank you. That makes me happy.
There were a couple of things that I specifically highlighted and loved. And one of the things was from the very beginning when you talked about what you wanted everyone to understand about this process. And you said, this is a creative permission slip for your soul to express yourself any damn way you please and to stop worrying about other people's opinions, including your own. And that was one of my very first highlights. And it was like, oh, you mean I don't get to have an opinion about what I create, which, you know, when I look back at that again, I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't supposed to say, I don't think I did this right. And Joy's story about the lollipop trees reminds me of a workshop I did when a woman who was about 10 years older than me said she had a similar thing where a woman said, that doesn't look like a pilgrim, you know, about someone
Yeah.
when she was in second grade and she was like 58 years old and she
Yeah.
was still remembering that.
Yes.
The other quote that I loved was, you talked about the desire and compulsion to go back and fix, improve upon, or try to make something better that already has been creatively expressed.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, because I find myself tweaking. I mean, I use that dang word all the time.
Yeah.
Things that are supposed to be art, whether it's writing or a graphic or something.
Right.
How do we know when to stop?
Well, okay. So, so did you read the story about No More Leaves? I don't know if you remember that story.
I don't know
in
if
the
I
book.
got to that yet.
Yeah, got to that. Yeah. Okay, great. So the thing that I'm really trying to teach people here is how to really, to make art from your body, to make art from what you're feeling, to really pay attention to what has juice and energy and aliveness for you, and to not be in your head so much, So the thing when you know to stop is when you don't have, I mean, your head might be like, oh, keep going, that still isn't right. Oh my God, you have to fix that. You have to make that better. And if you pay attention to what you're feeling, you're probably feeling exhausted, or you're feeling, kind of shut down, or you're not really engaged any longer. And so what I was, when you read that quote that, the thing I'd written, it's that thing about like trusting in the wisdom of those spontaneous creative impulses, and just continuing to pay attention to where the creative juice still is, and so if you're no longer feeling it, then to stop. That's really when you stop.
So it's kind of like the ooh energy as opposed to the I have to do this.
Exactly.
I really should. Yeah. It's
yes.
like, oh,
yes.
I get to do
yes.
this.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. I get to do this. Oh, this is exciting. Or this is, because, sometimes the excitement and, can also take the form of resistance. Sometimes it can be like, oh my God, I have to do that. I'm terrified, but that's still energy. What you don't want to be letting run the show is the should voice. So if you're hearing that, and then you're starting to feel like you're working in the coal mines, like, okay, and then you're no longer creating, if you're not, yeah.
So did you find that energy different when you were writing a book? So this is your first book, right? So was that a different kind of energy writing this book, putting written words down, than it was creating?
Not really. Again, I was paying attention to, again, what had aliveness and what had juice for me when I was writing. So if I was writing and I was starting to get into the should, or I was starting to get into like, feeling constrained, if I was feeling that way, because here I'm trying to communicate freedom, and if feeling free when I'm writing, it's not going to come across, so the writing process, I know it can sometimes feel different, and, it's not like I wouldn't go back and be like, oh, no, that word isn't quite right. And this word has more juice, so there would be that kind of a thing. But it was always coming from that place of where's the aliveness, even in the writing.
Cool. Thank you.
Does that help? Yeah.
Absolutely helps. Thank you.
Great. You're welcome, Kelly. So any other questions about the process, about anything? If anybody read the book, if you have any questions about that, or about what we just did, or, any questions you have for me. And thank you all for participating too. This was really fun. And yeah. Do I?
Question structure of the
yes.
book. Was there a significance to the number of stories or how you structured it? I was just curious. And I know you have a very good memory for these conversations.
I do.
I was just curious about the process of putting together all these stories. I know you share them on Facebook. Yeah, I was just curious if there was significance of the number of stories and how you structured it.
No, well, this is the thing that's interesting, is that like the stories just came, and there was a lot of energy for the stories, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. And then all of a sudden it was done. It was like, like if I could force myself to write more stories, but there's no juice there. And so it ended up being 39. because that was, again, what the energy, that's where the energy was. So, so the book is really an expression of the process, the way that I did the book. And it's also that thing of like, my muse was like, now my muse is interested in other things. It's like, okay, we're done with that. Now we're off to something else. And so it's really paying attention to that. So yeah, it wasn't, I didn't have like a plan. I didn't know what it was going to end up being in terms of that. And was there something else you asked? Was it about like how many stories and
number of stories, and the kind of the structure that you had a story and then question, reflection, and then the journal questions.
Oh,
I think
right.
you also mentioned to me that people have been using the book in different ways. So I was wondering if you could.
Yeah, well, the thing that's really been fun for me is as I'm hearing from people who bought the book and are reading the book and are enjoying it, which is always such a great thing for an author, to really find out that people are actually really liking it. A lot of people are using it as a creative oracle. So I've been hearing from a lot of people that, like, when they sit down to do some kind of creative project, they use the book because the chapters are short. The stories are short, and then the commentary is short. They're like maybe 2-3 pages at the most. And then they open it up and it's like, oh, this is the issue that I really need to be thinking about or looking at today, So that's something that's really been fun. And I've heard that from a number of people, like they use it almost like an oracle deck for their creativity. So that's kind of fun. And that is the thing. It's not like you have to read the book from start to finish. You could open it up at any point. The stories aren't in any particular order, really. So.
Well, we're at almost 25 after the hour, Chris.
Great.
I want to thank you so much for being our special guest today and leading us through transformational process.
Yeah.
I think I've worked through a little bit of my own anger. So
thank you.
Good.
You're so welcome, Kelly. That was totally fun.
I would love to invite anybody who's not familiar with Athena Village to check us out. We are at athenavillage.com on the internet, and then our village, there's a link there to join the village. And once you get in, if you have any questions about becoming more involved than just being a community member, Joy and I can talk to you about that. We have a couple of levels where you can actually host classes inside the village, host events, have a group. It's a wonderful alternative to Facebook and that sort of thing. So please, we'd love to see you in the village. And as we close, we're playful in the month of June in the village. Our topic for the month of June is play and recreate. So that's what we're doing. Frivolum est bonus, silly is good, is our theme. And we'll close by asking Chris to tell us what's next for her.
Great, thank you. So for those of you that are new to me in my world, I do have a website. My business is called Creative Juices Arts. And so I put a link in the chat. So it's, Creative Juices Arts. I have the book. So, you can get that through, you can go to my website and I have links to like Amazon and Barnes and Noble and I think a couple of other places. I also offer classes. I have weekly online intuitive painting classes. So that's something that it's a way that you can kind of, get, kind of do what we did today, but on a deeper level. I'm also, I have a teacher training program. Joy has been part of the teacher training. Deb has done the teacher training. And Ruth did too. I don't know, Ruth, I think disappeared. So I have another, I'm going to be offering that again in a couple of months. I have I'm going to be doing that online. And then, there's the book. So, and I have a newsletter. So if you sign up for my newsletter, I also, write different blog posts and things around creativity. So it would be wonderful to have you in the community. And so it's just been wonderful and lovely to be part of this community and this circle and to meet new people and to be with people that I already know. Thank you for your willingness and your openness to the process. And thank you for the beautiful invitation from Kelly and from Joy. So
blessings to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in the village.
Yes. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.